Today we're going to go over another one of the most important foundations of nutrition. This is about proteins. And the key takeaways of this are what proteins are, how they're built, what essential amino acids are, how to build good ones, where they are built, what causes them to be built improperly and creates all the protein problems within inside of us. This is Your Health Reclaimed, where we expose the root causes that are fueling Lyme and all matters of chronic illness so you can finally heal. Help you to understand and heal the root cause of Lyme and chronic illness so you can reclaim your health and restore your life. I'm Dr. Brad Montagne, veteran functional medicine doctor. We're the people that see people from all over the world, people that have been to multiple doctors, never got any help whatsoever, and we get the bulk of them healthy again. So if you're really struggling, this is a place to get help. So if we start to talk about proteins, proteins are what build our structure. They make all of the structure inside our cells, all of the structure inside of our bodies. And these are critically important. It's proteins that make our enzymes, it's proteins that make the docking sites in all of our cells to exchange nutrients, empty out waste products. So we can't live without them, and we really need to understand proteins because there's so much out there that are drawing people into directions that really are not going to help them whatsoever. So some of this you may know, some of this you won't know. Proteins are typically made of chains of amino acids. Those chains can be extremely long. There are, if you look at a chain of protein, and say we got the same protein in the microbe in the soil, in the plant that those microbes feed, the animals that eat those microbes, all the way up to us, those chains can have the same sequence of proteins, but they will fold in different shapes. And those folds all vibrate in a harmonic frequency that is unique to every different species of every living thing on the planet. Man has the highest frequency of all of the living creatures on the face of the earth once those proteins are put together. And it is critical for us to be able to build proteins that the sequence is right, the folds are correct for what they're needed to be, and those harmonic vibrations need to be exact for our species, otherwise they don't work. So, and this isn't something that's really talked about hardly ever. There's some old world geniuses that talked about this a decade ago, or actually not a decade ago, a century ago, pretty close to 100 years ago, contemporary of Albert Einstein. Dr. Kerry Reams is one of those voices from way back in yesterday, and not many people study what he looked at. So with proteins, we hear about essential amino acids. Those are the ones that we cannot make inside of us. The non-essential ones we can make out of different ones, but the essential ones we can't. So we have to eat those in proper balanced quantities, all at the same meal, for us to be able to make and build proper proteins. And those 9 essential acids, I'm going to list these. This isn't critical to know what all these are, and I'll get into why later. But those 9 essential amino acids, that's histidine, isoleucine, leucine, methionine, phenylalanine, threonine, tryptophan, and valine. So whenever we eat proteins, we need all 9 of these together inside of the food we're eating to be able to build proteins properly. If they're not all together at the same meal, then we can't build properly off of those, and those proteins will just get consumed to make energy or something else. Energy or fat, usually one of those things. But to build protein, to fix our structure, to build muscle, to heal and repair, we need all 9 of these together at the same time. So a complete protein has all 9 of those together. And most people realize that most meats have all 9 of those together. So you're talking animal meats in general. There's a few animals that are not completely balanced. Moose is one of those. I've been told rabbit is. I haven't really looked at that one, but I can accept the fact that maybe that is the case. Things like beef, lamb, pork, those are going to have all of those essential amino acids. A lot of your seafood and shellfish, those have all of the amino acids. Mushrooms can have all those. Soy is common. Buckwheat is common. It's not really a true grain in Africa by the name of teff. It's a real high protein food that they use it as a grain. It's really, really small, smaller than a grain of sand. That's balanced protein too. There's not a lot of foods out there that are balanced. And it's critical to know how to balance these. So if you're not eating fish, seafood, shellfish, and or meat, then you need to really understand how to balance proteins. Legumes are one of the most protein-rich foods in the world, but they're not balanced as far as their proteins go. So you need to have something else with those. The most common way that cultures all over the world do this is they combine grains and legumes. Legumes are what we call beans. If you combine 3 grains together, that usually balances your protein. The grains that I use to combine to make gluten-free flour are always balanced in protein. So, and I'll get into that a little bit later. But with legumes, the most classic grains to combine that with in Central and South America was corn. Most of the corn supply made in Americas is toxic. That comes from big ag creating all these toxic chemicals to keep their GMO products growing and all that. And they've convinced most of the nations in the Americas to use the same toxic stuff. So corn has a problem in balancing things because of its toxicity. Rice is the most common thing over in Asia and the rest of the world. Rice, you can easily find clean sources of that. Lundberg's is really clean. Cocoa Rose is really clean. Nashiki is really clean. You always want a brown rice as far as that goes. And the 4 grains that I use to make gluten-free flour is buckwheat. That really makes your flour way better than anything else because that acts as a binder and it holds everything together and it's a full protein. We use oats, organic brown rice. I converted that to a sweet rice, and that sweet rice is more sticky. It's got more gelatinous characteristics to it. It makes way better breads, cakes, and things along that line. And we used to use sorghum. It's hard to find clean sorghum anymore. We switched that to teff. Teff makes like a chocolate colored flour and it makes the flour dark, but it's really makes great tortillas and things like that. So, or you can combine grains and nuts or legumes and nuts, and that's really the most prevalent way to balance proteins all over the world. To do that with legumes and grains, it's a 1/3 grain as far as volume goes to the beans. So if you're using a cup of beans, you need 1/3 a cup of grains to balance that out. And that works really well. Now, it's critical to understand how we build proteins. 80% of the building actually occurs in the liver. 80% of the folding occurs in the liver, and 80% of setting up the harmonic vibrations occurs in the liver. So to build proteins properly, first we need complete proteins. Those complete proteins need to be high quality. And there's a big difference in high quality proteins. High quality proteins, first of all, they have the right sequences. Second, high quality proteins have the right folds in them. Third, they have the right harmonic vibration energies in them. And fourth, they have high energy in them. So you take low quality proteins. Those are typically your ground up meat, things like hot dogs. Hot dogs is one of the biggest nutritional causes of brain cancer in children than anything out there. They're always a low quality protein, almost always. There's some high quality hot dogs out there, not too many of them. What most people are buying is pretty much meat scraps that are all ground up really fine and combined together, and they're low quality and they don't build really good proteins. You take feedlot meats, those are going to be lower quality proteins because of all the toxic grains that are built in them, and those grains make the fats in the meats toxic, and you can't really build very good proteins with toxic fats and toxic chemicals inside of those proteins. So we really need quality proteins. Best place to get your good meats is from a local farmer that grows things and he doesn't grain his cattle. You want grass-fed, grass-finished with no grain at all. You can usually find those people in a farmer's market, and you can talk to them how they grow. If there's no meat growers at a farmer's market, the people at a farmer's market usually know people that do. So the high quality, it's good, rich in the combinations and things like that. And that gives us a real good basis to be able to build those properly in the liver. But the liver is one of 4 detox organs we have inside of the body. 3 of those organs are inside of the gut. We got the small intestinal wall, the colon wall, and the microbiota, or the flora that grows inside the gut that does the bulk of our digestion. So if we're eating toxic foods, that's going to deplete the flora. That's going to weaken the gut wall. It's going to create atrophy within the gut wall. And since it's the microbiota that does most of the digestion in the gut, we're not going to digest properly. So that's not going to give us good building blocks, and we're not going to be able to build proper proteins. Also, if we're eating toxic foods, then that toxicity is going to come through the gut, into the bloodstream, overwhelm the liver, because the gut's already going to be weakened because of the toxicity. The lining of the gut is going to be atrophied. With that, the flora is going to be depleted. The good stuff, if there's any good flora left, it's going to be seriously depleted, and the pathogens are going to be growing wholesale. That allows this huge dump of toxicity out of the gut to get in the bloodstream and go straight in the liver, and it overwhelms the liver. And then what the liver can't process, it goes systemic. It's supposed to dump back into the gut. When all that's going on and the liver's overwhelmed with all this toxicity coming out of the gut, it cannot build properly. It can't build proper proteins. It can't fold them properly. It can't set up this harmonic vibration in the right frequencies, and it can't put the energy into all of these chains. So that makes us build deficient proteins, and that makes up our structure, our connective tissue, holds us all together, our muscles that help us move things. It makes up all of the structures inside of the cells, and nothing works right. So A toxic gut with improper digestion is one of the first reasons why people won't build proteins. Poor diet is another one. When people are not taking quality products in to be able to build them, that's another one. Problems with the gut flora is all part of gut function and digestive processes, and that is huge. H. pylori infections inside the gut decrease the ability to build stomach acid. With that, you can't digest your proteins properly because they need to be exposed to acid in the stomach to digest properly. And when they don't digest properly, that inflames the gut, that makes the gut atrophy, wipes out the flora, and the pathogens grow there too. So we got all these different factors going on. And when people are eating poor quality proteins on a gut that's atrophied, the flora is not proper, you have no hope or prayer of being able to build proper proteins. The gut's critical for all this. So we really need to keep our gut health optimal. And it doesn't fix itself just with changing diet. The gut's the hardest organ in the body to fix, and that includes fixing the flora. You got to fix the gut wall. You got to fix the immune system. Over half the immune system's in the gut. You've got to fix the enzyme action that's going on. A lot of that happens through the flora that does all the digestion. The food can't touch the gut wall because that's where all the flora is. So it has to be the flora that's doing all the digestion. So all those factors have to come together along with eating quality proteins and having the proper nutrients. Improper mineral intake with make it so you can build them also. And calcium's number one as far as that goes. Calcium always goes with magnesium. You can't take one without the other. And all these people promoting magnesium therapies without balance calcium don't understand physiology. It makes no sense to do one without the other. And then we look at the upsurgence of all of these protein powders for doing shakes and all that. The bulk of those come from toxic sources. A lot of those are dairy, whey. That's never good. Pea protein became vogue. Peas are always toxic in our country. So those aren't good either. You need really good quality things to build that. And one of the best proteins I know of right now actually comes from pumpkin seeds. So the reference protein is an egg, but if they're not feeding the chickens right, those are toxic also. This really needs to be addressed and fixed. And we throw on top of that the upsurgence of branched chain amino acids. If you listen, go back and listen to what I've said already. If you're not eating proper proteins in a healthy gut that's digesting them properly, there's no way you can build healthy protein. So then people start throwing these really expensive, highfalutin supplemental ideas at this whole problem without ever addressing the problem. And it's still not going to fix your ability to build proteins. Branched amino acids is one of those band-aid things for a poor gut, a poor gut flora, maldigestive issues, improper diet, and thinking that this is going to fix it all. It's not, and it can't. We have to address the whole ball of wax together. So the proper balanced proteins and a properly digesting gut that's healthy and rich in flora with all of the other constituents is critical to be able to build proper protein. So to capsulize all this, we need good quality protein coming in. It needs to be balanced. It needs to come into a gut that is functioning properly. The gut lining is healthy. The flora is healthy. The body is not toxic. It's got to be clear of toxicity. And you can't fix toxic patterns without fixing the gut. So all this ties together. And this is how we keep ourselves with our structures proper, our connective tissue well, and we're constantly rebuilding the stores that are depleted.